The deadbolt pins surrendered in sequence. 3 soft clicks that felt loud in the stillness. The back door of the house eased open.
Before you go, lock it from the outside, will you? I'll throw in an extra 20.
Brandon took the money, told himself it was just a weird request, and started back across the yard. Halfway there, movement in the upstairs window froze him. A gaunt, pale face stared through a slit in the curtains. Not the man he'd just let inside. That's not him. He bolted for the van, ignition already turning before the door fully shut. Gravel sprayed as he reversed, the house shrinking in the mirror. That call was the one that cracked him open. The one that taught him some doors aren't meant to be opened. 8 hours earlier, Brandon Cole had been running 24-hour emergency calls for 3 years. He'd seen weird, but nothing like what was coming. At 11:45, his phone lit up. The dispatcher's voice cut through the static.
Brandon got a lockout at the Mill Road Food Mart. Woman locked out of her car, says someone was following her. She sounded terrified.
On my way. Tell her to stay put and not approach anyone. The van cut through empty commercial streets, passing closed storefronts and dead traffic lights. The Food Mart lot was a pool of silence, one sedan parked crooked under a stuttering lamp.
Please, please hurry. He's still out here, I know it.
I'll have you inside in 2 minutes. Just breathe.
I dropped my keys when I ran. He was right behind me, pounding on the back window.
No damage on the car. Either she imagined it, or he's good at not leaving marks. He slid, the Slim Jim past the weather, stripping, fishing for the lock rod in the dark.
Thank you. I just need to go. I can't stay here.
The lock snicked open, and Claire threw herself into the driver's seat. Her engine turned over, taillights bleeding into the night. As he turned back toward his van, a scrap of paper caught his heel. A crumpled flyer, half sunk in a puddle. He bent and picked it up. The paper was waterlogged, but the photo beneath the word missing was clear. The woman in the photo had the same blonde hair, the same wide eyes he'd just seen. The date, October 2013. 10 years old. Just some old poster that never got taken down. Coincidence. You are letting one scared woman mess with your head. He shoved the flyer into the sun visor and started the engine. The lot was empty again, but the question clung to the back of his mind. Why was it out here, tonight, in this exact spot? He drove away, headlights sweeping across the pavement, finding nothing but silence. The first call was over. The next one would be waiting, and it would not feel like coincidence. 2 hours slipped past. At 3:01 a.m., the radio hissed the next call.
Lockout at Mid-County Storage. Address is rural, Harvey Road, 2 miles past the county line. Caller says he's Gerald Weiss. I asked him to stay by the unit. He said he already was. No car, no flashlight, just standing there in the dark.
Sounds like a weird one. I'll check it out. Log me en route. The drive felt longer than the GPS claimed. Fog banked low, and each passing mile swallowed more of the world. The storage facility rose out of the mist, corrugated doors, a flickering bulb. At the far end, a man-shaped stillness.
Mr. Cole, Unit 24. I appreciate your promptness. I've been waiting a while.
That suit looks like it came out of a time capsule. And his voice like he's reading from a script.
I have the payment ready. Please take your time. There's no rush now.
Brandon knelt, the pick gun buzzing against the padlock. Gerald Weiss stood behind him, motionless as a statue. The padlock surrendered, and the metal door rattled upward, revealing a darkness thick with dust. Inside, relics crowded together, plastic-shrouded chairs, stacks of water-stained boxes, the air heavy with mothballs. Near the front, a box bore a peeling label. Gerald Weiss, personnel files. The name matched the man who stood behind him. On the back wall, a calendar hung frozen on December 1998. Not a week, not a month, A specific year, decades old. Gerald stepped forward, pressing folded cash into Brandon's hand. The bills felt crisp, like they'd never been touched. Then he turned and walked away, footsteps silent, dissolving into the shadows of the corridor.
This isn't right. None of this is right.
In the van, he pulled out his phone and typed the name. Gerald Weiss. No results. Just an empty screen. The cold crept deeper. Something about the unit, the calendar, the silent man. It all bent wrong. He locked the unit and drove away, the night swallowing the facility behind him. At 4:15 a.m., the radio buzzed. A third call, the hour when the world held its breath.
Brandon, lockout on Coventry Lane, a cul-de-sac. Guy says his wife locked him out. He's waiting at the back door.
Cul-de-sac. Great. All right. Put me down.
He stared at the steering wheel. The 2 earlier calls clung to him like damp, but the job didn't offer the luxury of a no. The van rolled again, headlights cutting a narrow tunnel through fog. The address was miles outside town. Coventry Lane ended at a 2-story house with a dead lawn and a porch light that sputtered like a dying eye.
This is the kind of house people tell stories about.
He killed the engine. The silence was immediate and total, as if the street had been waiting. Gravel crunched under his boots as he walked around to the back door, tool bag in hand. A man-shaped outline waited in the dark, too still, too patient. The 3rd customer had arrived. Brandon stepped forward, the flashlight beam finding a man in a raincoat. Unremarkable face, dark hair, clean-shaven, ordinary in every way.
Thank you for coming so late. My wife, she has a temper. I just need to get inside.
He didn't sound angry, just reciting facts, like he was reading from a page that had been turned a long time ago.
No lights on inside. No sound from the house. What kind of fight ends with total silence?
He knelt, fitting the tension wrench into the keyway. Behind him, Victor stood motionless as the dark.
He doesn't shift his weight, doesn't cough, doesn't do anything a real person does.
Pin by pin, the lock surrendered. Mechanical, familiar, yet his fingers moved slower than usual.
Almost there. You are very good at this.
The final pin set. The plug turned with a soft, final click.
It's just a door. Just another lockout. So why does it feel like I am opening something I shouldn't?
The door swung inward, releasing a breath of stale air. The kitchen beyond was dark, every surface furred with dust.
Thank you. Please, wait here. I need to check something upstairs. It won't be long.
Wait. In a house this dead? For what?
Victor's footsteps faded up the staircase, each tread creaking under a weight that felt too light. Then silence. From above, a sliver of light appeared under a door. Then voices, low, muffled, like a broadcast from a far-off station. He strained to hear. A woman's tone, maybe, but the words stayed just out of reach, like they belonged to another time.
If that's his wife, why does she sound like she's asking a question no one has answered in years?
The voices stopped. The silence that followed was heavier than the noise, pressing down from the floor above.
Nobody's coming down. Nobody's moving. What did I just let inside?
He stood in the dark kitchen, waiting for a man who had asked him to lock a door from the outside. The stairs groaned under a slow, deliberate descent. Victor reappeared from the dark, holding a small envelope.
Here. Cash, as we agreed. And one more thing. When you leave, lock the door from the outside. I'll take it from here.
He wants me to lock him inside an empty house, with something that talks upstairs.
Brandon took the envelope, the paper crisp and cold. He couldn't find a reason to refuse. He stepped out, pulled the door shut, and thumbed the deadbolt. Through the window, Victor's face was close, placid as a mask.
I just locked a man inside a house, with no one else, and his eyes say it's exactly what he wanted.
He turned away. Gravel crunched. The porch light flickered, died for a heartbeat, then clawed back to life. The van waited across the yard, but the darkness behind him felt sentient, watching, patient. He walked. He didn't look back. Not yet. But the weight of that calm stare bored into his spine. Halfway to the van, habit or instinct made him glance back at the house. The upstairs window caught his eye. The curtain stirred, barely, and behind the gap, a face, pale, impossibly thin, with hollows where eyes should be.
That's not him. That's not Victor. That's not anyone alive.
The figure didn't move, didn't blink, just stared down at Brandon as if marking him for the rest of time. The envelope slipped from Brandon's fingers. He didn't pick it up. He ran. Not a walk, not a jog. A dead sprint to the van, keys already in his fist. The engine roared. He reversed without looking, gravel spitting, and the house shrank in the side mirror. But the window stayed in his mind. The gaunt man still waiting for someone else to come unlock something. He didn't slow until the cul-de-sac sign was a blur, and the darkness swallowed the road behind him. The call was finished, but Brandon knew, with a cold certainty, that it wasn't over. Dawn broke gray over the town, but Brandon sat in a diner booth with the night still clinging to him.
Janet, listen. That lockout on Coventry, I need to log it.
Coventry Lane. Give me a sec. That address isn't showing any active resident. Brandon, that address is bank-owned. Vacant 4 years. Are you sure you had the right call?
Vacant. I spoke to a man inside. I locked the door behind him.
He forced the words out, describing the raincoat, the locked door, the face in the window. Janet went silent.
Nobody's lived there. The bank just pays the taxes. If someone was inside, they had no right to be.
No right to be. Or no way to have been there at all.
He ended the call and stared at the newspaper he hadn't read. The date was today, but the world felt unmoored.
I have to go back. Now. Before the sun burns the night's truth away.
The van rolled back onto Coventry Lane as the sun climbed, bleaching the mystery out of the streets. The house looked worse by day. Peeling paint, windows like dead eyes. The porch light was off, as if it had never burned. He found the back door exactly as he'd left it, locked. On the dusty porch, his own boot prints from hours ago remained. He picked the lock again, slower this time, and stepped inside. The kitchen swallowed the daylight in a breath of stillness.
The dust is thick on everything, except the floor. A single path from this door to the stairs and back.
He followed the trail to the staircase, looking up into the silent dark. No sliver of light. No voices, only his own tracks, circling in the dust like a one-person dance. No other prints, no disturbance, no trace of the man in the raincoat.
Nothing. No one. I locked a ghost inside.
He backed out and locked the door again, this time without being asked. The click sounded final, driving away. The house sat still in the mirror, as if it had always been empty. The sun didn't make it feel any safer. Weeks passed, but the night stayed fresh, crackling behind Brandon's eyes whenever he shut them. He typed the name Victor Hale into every search bar he could find. No records, no social media, no trace. The address itself returned only a single bank-owned listing, vacant for 4 years. No prior owner history, no prior owner history, no builder.
It's like the place didn't exist before someone decided it was already abandoned.
He drove to the county library, feeding microfilm reels into the ancient reader, scrolling through decades of local news. The lot on Coventry Lane had been empty field in the 90s. Then, without fanfare, a 2-story house appeared in a 2015 real estate blurb. Already a derelict.
No builder, no opening date. Just a house that was always old and already empty.
He printed the page and added it to a growing folder. Claire's flyer. The calendar photo, the property listing, none of it fit together. But the weight of the folder was the only thing keeping him anchored to something real. He stopped sleeping through his off hours. The obsession had rooted, and the questions wouldn't let go. In his apartment, he pinned Claire's flyer to the wall, then taped the photo of the 1998 calendar beside it. A timeline that made no sense.
3 calls, 1 night. All of them felt displaced.
He pulled up his call log and dialed each number. The Food Mart payphone, the storage facility, the house, all disconnected.
Numbers that existed hours ago don't just vanish.
The calendar photo taunted him. December 1998. The flyer, October 2013. The empty house, no date at all.
If I am not crazy, something is reaching across decades, using my night shift.
He circled all 3 entries in his logbook with red ink, then drew a line connecting them.
Stop it. You are connecting dots that don't exist.
But the line on the page insisted otherwise. The evidence had its own gravity. He sat on the floor, the wall of fragments watching him like the gaunt man from the window. A week later, a midnight call took him down a slick road. Rain strafed the windshield, each drop catching a street lamp like a blink. In the side mirror, the rain made shapes. One shape held a gaunt stillness that didn't smear with the water.
It's just a trick of the light. Just tired eyes.
The day after, in the rear view, headlights burned too close. A sedan that matched the make and color of Claire's.
Number. Not possible. She drove away 10 years ago.
He pulled over and walked back. The road was empty, cold. Only his own boot prints in the wet asphalt.
I am chasing ghosts. No, they're chasing me.
Sleep drained him. Every call became a test. He'd unlock a door and feel a face watching from a window that wasn't there.
If I stop driving, I stop moving. And if I stop moving, whatever this is catches up.
He kept the van running and the radio off. The only sound was his own breathing, and sometimes the faint hum of a dispatcher he no longer trusted. Months later, a gray morning light seeped into his apartment. Brandon lay half awake on the couch, the television murmuring low. The anchor's voice sharpened without warning. A breaking news banner cut across the screen. The text read, "Missing for 19 years. Victor Hale cold case reopened."
Victor Hale. That's the name I typed. The name that returned nothing.
Then a photograph filled the screen. The same unremarkable face, the same dark hair, the same raincoat.
That's him. That's the man I let inside that house.
His hand spasmed. The coffee mug slipped and shattered against the floor. The anchor's voice blurred into static. The date of disappearance, the 7th of November, 2005. 19 years ago.
I spoke to him. He paid me. He asked me to lock him in.
The room swayed. He lurched toward the wall of evidence, the photo on screen, matching the face in his memory like a key in a lock. His fingers shook as he unlocked the tablet and opened a cold case database. He typed Claire Holloway. The flyer he'd found months ago was only the start. An article loaded beneath it. Missing since 2013.
10 years. She vanished 10 years ago, and I unlocked her car.
He opened another file, pasting Gerald Weiss's name from his logbook. The result was a grainy employee photo and a date, last seen 1998.
25 years. The calendar in his unit was from that exact year.
He pulled up all 3 entries on the same screen. Victor, Claire, Gerald. The dates of their disappearances stretched across decades.
They were all missing people. Every single one of them. And I unlocked their doors.
The tablet trembled in his grip. The evidence wall around him, flyers, calendar, newspaper clippings, now looked like a gallery of the dead.
What did I step into that night? Why me?
He sank to the floor, the faces of 3 strangers who'd been lost for decades staring back from the glowing screen. He stayed on the floor until the sun leaned through the blinds. The 3 faces on the screen had become a calendar of impossible encounters.
Not just them. The gaunt man in the window. He was another one, wasn't he? I can't explain this to anyone. They'd lock me up.
He gathered the flyer, the calendar photo, the news clippings, and carried them to the metal bin in the narrow yard. Flames ate the flyer first, Claire's face dissolving into ash. The calendar photo curled and blackened. He watched until nothing remained but smoke. No evidence, no explanation.
That night stays with me. It's the only thing that's real.
He locked the logbook in a metal box under his bed. No police, no dispatcher. No one would ever see the circled names.
If I am the only one who knows, maybe they stay where they belong.
But the silence he chose was the same silence that had met him on Coventry Lane, and it never felt empty. Weeks later, the van rolled under a moonless sky. The dispatcher's voice crackled, routine until it wasn't.
Brandon, lockout on Maple Court, cul-de-sac. Caller's outside, says he lost his house key.
Not a cul-de-sac. Never again. I can't take that one. Send someone else.
He killed the call, then pulled over until his hands stopped shaking. Driving on, he passed a street sign for another cul-de-sac and pressed the accelerator harder.
Maybe one day the ghosts will find a different locksmith. Or maybe they'll just wait for me on a main road.
He still worked nights, still took the calls no one else wanted, but the rule held. No cul-de-sacs. Every time the radio offered an address that ended in a loop, his whole body remembered the gaunt man's stare. And somewhere, in a bank-owned silence, a door stayed locked from the outside. A week later, a calm night. An elderly woman had lost her key, and her porch light was steady and warm. He worked the lock by habit, but his neck prickled. Every shadow at the edge of the lawn felt like a held breath.
The gaunt man doesn't need a window. He's learned to use the dark itself.
The door opened. The woman thanked him. He left without a backward glance, but the mirror drew his eyes as he drove. 3 intersections later, a bus stop shelter glowed empty under a street lamp, except it wasn't empty. A tall, thin silhouette stood under the shelter, unmoving, pale hands at its sides, watching the van pass.
You are still here.
He didn't stop. The van kept rolling, and in the side mirror the figure dissolved into the night's grain.
I don't know what you want. I don't think I want to.
The bus stop stayed empty after that, but Brandon no longer believed in empty places. In the small hours, Brandon sat on the edge of his bed, the metal box pulled from beneath it. He turned the key, a tiny sound in the silent apartment, and lifted the lid. Inside, the logbook lay waiting, its pages smelling of old ink and something colder. He opened to the circled entries. 3 calls, 3 names, a web of red ink connecting them.
Claire, Gerald, Victor, 19 years, 10/25. They're still missing, but I saw them.
He'd never spoken of it. Not to Janet, not to anyone. The secret had become a second silence in the room.
Maybe if I keep it closed in this box, it stays a dream.
But the weight of the box was real, and the red lines under the bed didn't fade. He lay back, staring at the ceiling, knowing the calls would come again tomorrow. He would answer them. But he would keep one rule: no cul-de-sacs, and the locked box would stay locked. Dawn bled over the highway as the van fled, the last call of the night. He drove without destination, the engine a low hum beneath a sky turning gray, then gold. A cul-de-sac sign rushed past, its yellow diamond unreadable in the blur. In the rear view, a porch light flickered once, a lonely amber pulse in the shrinking dark.
I know that light.
He didn't slow, The mirror held the image for a breath, then emptied into pale sky. The van rolled on, swallowed by the growing light, a small white shape on a road no longer watched. Behind, the cul-de-sac sat still, the porch light now dead. No one inside, no one watching, except the ones who always were. The screen faded to black, and the world kept its secrets.